IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Smile India with me, Shifa Maitra. On this podcast, I get you positive, uplifting news from across the country. Today, I have for you the world's largest cricket museum, the folk singer who calls up COVID patients to cheer them up, and more. The Sikh community has been at the forefront during the pandemic, even providing oxygen langars. So here's another example of a young man from the community doing exemplary work. Since April, Dr. Harmandeep Singh Bhoparai, a critical care expert, has been working tirelessly saving patients in Amritsar. What is worth noting is that the doctor does not live in the city. He has a flourishing career in New York. When the pandemic broke out, he was at the forefront in America. This year, when he heard about the mayhem in India, he felt the need to help. He got in touch with Doctors Beyond Borders, an NGO doing great work. He chose to come to his hometown, Amritsar, and was a great asset to various hospitals. As soon as the cases dropped, he got involved in training doctors and nurses at the Dukh Nirvan Hospital, which is being set up as a COVID care center. He is using all his learnings from New York combined with his understanding of Amritsar. Next up, he will be in Mumbai setting up a 1,000-bed hospital. Both his parents were doctors, and his retired father looks on with pride as he sees his 34-year-old work round the clock. He recalls how his late wife used to take Harman with her when she did seva in hospitals. Clearly, this doctor is making not just his mother, but the entire nation feel like they did something right. Now let me tell you about a place that every cricket fan must visit once things get better. This is the Blades of Glory Museum in Pune, which has been declared as the biggest cricket museum in the world by the Golden Book of Records. This is the brainchild and effort of an ex-cricketer, Rohan Pate, and was inaugurated by Sachin Tendulkar in 2012. Over the years, Rohan has been traveling around the world and collecting things around cricket, and the museum is ever evolving. In the 5,000 square feet Castles of Cricket Gallery, you find autographed bats, balls, and personal items belonging to the legends of the game. Further on, you see huge pictures of each team that won the World Cup, autographed by the captain of that team. Sachin Tendulkar's life is depicted via personal pictures, and there's a live scoreboard for Virat Kohli which gets updated after every match. Through the lockdown, Rohan has been in touch with cricket boards across the globe and has major plans up his sleeve. Cricketing legends from across the world keep dropping in at the museum and are more than happy to interact with fans. I'm sure a lot of you will visit the place as soon as you can. You know, one of the most difficult things that COVID patients face? The isolation, whether in hospital or at home. The phone is their lifeline, along with music and watching whatever they can. Bikramjit Baulia, a popular folk singer from Assam, knows exactly what it feels like, having defeated the virus last year. Now with no shows and travel, Bikram has been home helping his father at the chemist shop. One day while interacting with fans online, he got an idea. He shared his number on social media and asked anyone isolated due to COVID to call him. The phone hasn't stopped ringing since then. He sings folk songs in Bengali and Assamese, and now to fulfill requests, he sings in Hindi and Punjabi too. When he talks to patients, he can hear the joy in their voice. Besides songs, he also lends them a compassionate ear and gives loads of pep talk. An 80-year-old recovering patient says he's like a grandson to me, and he's the one who gave me the will to get better. To my mind, this is the most pure and true bond that an artist can create with his listeners. Hope some of our mainstream singers are listening to this. Now let's talk about Delhi, about Rashi Anand's NGO Laksham. When she first moved to the capital from Ranchi, she was shocked seeing the number of children begging at traffic signals, playing with old tires. On the other hand, she saw privileged kids throwing away toys they were bored of. She walked into a posh school and got them to agree to a drive where good old toys were collected. She took these toys to a slum near her home, and the kids were delighted. She spoke to the parents and said, "I can teach these children every morning." But they said, "No, our kids are earning and they need no education." Rashi refused to give up and gradually won the trust of the mothers. She started teaching kids academics and life skills, how they can maintain hygiene, how to talk without using foul language, and started awarding them for things like neat hair and cut nails. Over some time, some bright children wanted to study in real schools, and she made that happen. Parents thanked Rashi seeing how well-behaved the children were becoming. That's when Rashi decided to do this full-time. In 2012, she began Laksham, an NGO with trained staff and an office. she got funding from corporates and was able to set up 12 schools in slums across Delhi. The children studied from class 1 to 5 and most were ready for conventional education post that. They also learned life skills that helped immensely. When the pandemic struck and corporate funding started drying up, Rashi knew she had to do something. She could not let her little friends down. To continue their upkeep, Rashi reached out to friends, and through fundraisers like Fashion for a Cause, she's managing to keep Laksham afloat. More power to this young lady who's doing what needs to be done. That's it for today, and I'll be back next week with more delightful news from India. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and get vaccinated. For more interesting information on our country, please like and follow Good News Indians on Facebook. To hear more engaging podcasts, download the IVM app, go to the IVM website, or look for us wherever you get podcasts from. To stay in touch with me, you could look up Shifa Maitra on Twitter and Instagram. Since you heard and liked Smile India in English, you could check out our Hindi version too and recommend it to people who prefer podcasts in Hindi.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Seat, Cred, and Global Victoria. We thank you so much for making all of this possible. So this week on Cyrus Says, Tapsi Pannu was recently featured in the Netflix original Haseen Dilruba was on. They discussed her experiences in Bollywood and a whole lot more. On Begin the Journey, Ashish Vidyarthi enlightens us with his wisdom on how one can get freedom from their own thoughts or insecurities when they communicate with others. On The Millennial Athlete, Tanvi and Shlok fill us in on all the drama from the world of sports with Wimbledon, Euros, and World Test cricket making headlines every day. On Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav Momoria kicks off a new series, Beneath the Veneer. We travel to the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, where he takes us through his first experience of encountering the Red Sea. We have a brand new show, Misconduct. It's a true crime show hosted by Ragvi, a lawyer, and Nisha, a PR pro. They tell us about the story of Cyanide Malika, the lady who offered cyanide-laden sweets to women and after they died, loot their gold. On the Global Victoria Tech Talks podcast, we showcase some compelling new tech stories coming out of Melbourne. On one episode, Pawan Srinath speaks to Joe Agan from Nelnet International, where they discuss how the pandemic has affected the edtech sector and its evolution. Another episode has Varun Digirala talking to Ross Simons from Big Ant Studios about the gaming ecosystem and how they envision translating a sport to a game. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Do you know Tamil? Tamil Puriyuma? Do your children enjoy great stories that inculcate good values? Hi, I am Ravishankar Balachandran and I host the Storytime Tamil podcast. I am excited to share a short story with great moral values every day. Listen to Storytime Tamil on the IVM Podcast app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from.